Hi, it's Lonely Oz. I want to show you some scriptures as well as some news information here that will better explain to you how close we are to the end of this age. And what we're going to focus on is the rebuilding of the temple and the red heifer. But I'm going to show you scriptures as well as some news information. So let's go over this together so that we can all just have a better understanding of what's going on that is huge prophetically and how close we are to the end of this age just before the tribulation begins. Let's first look at this article that was posted on July 21st of this year. It says, finally, Israel officially calling for third temple to replace Al-Aqsa Mosque. Okay, so you can see that here on the screen. This is called the Israel Video Network. It says it's only a matter of time now. The Israel Minister of Housing and Construction, Uri Ariel, on Friday expressed his wish to see the construction of a third temple in place of the Al-Aqsa Mosque that is currently occupying the Temple Mount. Uri Ariel said the first temple was destroyed in 586 BCE, the second temple in 70 CE, and ever since the Jewish people have been mourning its loss. He then went on to say, Al-Aqsa Mosque is currently in place of the temple, despite the temple being much holier than it. Al-Aqsa Mosque is only the third most holy mosque in Islam, now that Israel has once again become a Jewish sovereign state. The desire to rebuild the temple is growing stronger and stronger, he added. So you can see they are really getting excited. They're really getting all amped up to rebuild this third temple. And if we look over, which I'm going to show you in a second, at the actual official temple website, you can see that they're already in the process. I also have some other news sources to show you where they've even rebuilt or actually built the altar, like right here on WND, holy altar constructed for the third Jewish temple. Now this was put out March the 14th of this year. So we're going to take a look at that too, as well as some of these scriptures. This article says, End Times prophecy watchers are marveling over a news report out of Jerusalem this week that the altar of the Lord has been reconstructed by the Temple Institute. Now the Temple Institute website I have open to show that to you in a moment about how they're rebuilding the temple. The institute, based in the old city of Jerusalem, announced it has finished building an altar that is essentially ready for use in sacrificial services. And by the way, I'm going to show you this too. I mentioned it in another video that they are already trying to birth the perfect red heifer for the ultimate sacrifice for that temple. It says the altar is the most ambitious project to date toward the goal of rebuilding the Jewish temple. The massive outdoor altar, which took several years to build, can be operational at little more than a moment's notice, reported the Israeli magazine Matzav Haruch. I probably killed that, but you see it on the screen. The altar is the last major component needed for the long obstructed sacrifices to resume in a future Jewish temple. Ultra-Orthodox Jews pray daily for its reconstruction atop the holy hill known as Mount Moriah, or the Temple Mount. Bible scholars say the rebuilding of the ancient temple is predicted throughout Scripture, starting with Daniel's vision in Daniel 9:27. Jesus echoed Daniel's warning about an abomination standing in the holy place in the last days in Matthew 24:15, followed by the Apostle John's vision of the temple in Revelation 11:1-2. Paul mentioned it in 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4. Now I have, I believe, most all those scriptures open to share with you. It says most people don't realize the temple had two altars, the altar of burnt offering and the altar of incense. The largest was the altar of burnt offering, placed in the outer court of the priest. Designing and building it to exact biblical specifications required quite an undertaking. It was approximately 5 meters or 16 feet tall and 16 meters or 52.5 feet wide, with 4 horns or raised corners and a ramp. The altar is the central focus of the sacrificial services that were halted with the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans in 70 AD. The Temple Institute has prepared all the priestly garments and sacred vessels for this rebuilt temple, which can be viewed on its website. It even trains members of the priestly family to be ready to serve as soon as the temple is constructed. Carl Gallups, a Baptist pastor in Florida, Bible prophecy expert, and author of Final Warning, Understanding the Trumpet Days of Revelation, told WND the announcement about the altar will be seen by many Christians as a huge step toward fulfillment of Bible prophecy. This announcement will surely excite prophecy watchers around the world, he said, regardless of one's eschatological learnings. Every sincere student of the Word of God knows there are at least hints, if not clear declarations, of something happening just before the return of the Lord that involves altar sacrifices and the distinct possibility of a rebuilt temple on the Temple Mount. In other words, no matter how much somebody really knows about Bible prophecy, most people who even know a little bit, for them, this is solid evidence of the coming of Jesus Christ, okay? So it says Jonathan Cahn, author of The Harbinger and Mystery of the Shemitah, also sees the announcement as significant. Here's what he says. He said, "We know that end-time prophecy cannot be fulfilled without the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. The abomination, desolation prophesied in Daniel and in the Gospels must take place within the temple precincts. So, too, the Apostle Paul speaks of the man of sin, or the Antichrist, sitting in the temple of God. What many people don't realize is that along with the Holy of Holies, the altar of the temple is the most central and critical part of the temple." Khan also said it is the altar that is the center of the abomination causing desolation. Okay, so let's take a look at a few more things here. Here is the scripture, 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 through 4. "Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day will not come unless the rebellion comes first, and the man of lawlessness, or the Antichrist, is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself against every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God." Now here's the passage in Matthew. It begins with Matthew 24, verse 15. "Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop not go down to take anything out of his house, and let him who is in the field not go back to get his clothes. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. And pray that your flight may not be in winter or on the Sabbath." Now, I have a video somewhere on my YouTube channel with Jonathan Cahn, and he specifically talks about and breaks that down, what all this really means. "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, nor ever shall be. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened." Let's go a little further. "Then if anyone says to you, 'Look, here is the Christ,' or 'there,' do not believe it." Because here's what's going to happen. Not just the Orthodox Jews, but many people who don't believe in Jesus, or that he ever came, or that he was the true Messiah, they're going to think that this son of perdition is the Messiah, but he's not. He will be what the Bible calls the Antichrist. "For false Christ and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you beforehand. Therefore, if they say to you, 'Look, he is in the desert,' do not go out, or 'Look, he is in the inner rooms,' do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For wherever the carcass is, there the eagles will be gathered together." Now, they say the Temple Institute has likewise called upon Israel's finest craftsmen and artisans and enlisted them in the historic task of recreating the sacred vessels and vestments. Every vessel produced by the Temple Institute is done in accordance with the precise instructions that were first handed down by God to Moses. The vessels you are about to view are all fit and ready for use in the Holy Temple. May it be built speedily and in our days. Okay, so then we click enter. Here they are. Okay, now I don't have time to read all of them to you or all the commentary next to each one of them, but let's look at some of them. You can see this one here. Okay, then we click next. Okay, they've got that. And it says each temple vessel restored by the Temple Institute is kosher for use in the soon to be rebuilt third temple made according to the exact requirements and specifications of biblical law. And it says, please donate generously to help the sacred work of the Temple Institute. Well, I guess if you want to hurry up and get Jesus to come back really soon, maybe we should all donate a ton of money so they can hurry up and get done with it. Of course, I'm joking, but hey. Here's another one, the wine libation vessel. Water libation vessel. I mean, I could keep going on and on. We'll click one more here. The wine libation cup. All right, so you have a pretty good idea. They've got these things ready to go, and I just read to you down here. It says each temple vessel restored by the Temple Institute is kosher for use in the soon to rebuilt third temple made according to the exact requirements and specs of biblical law. Here is the article for the specifics on the red heifer. It says, after 2,000 years, with great thanks to the Almighty, we are pleased to announce the Temple Institute is raising red heifers in Israel. For the first time in 2,000 years, the restoration of biblical purity is within reach, the prerequisite for building the Holy Temple. Watch this video to learn more about this historic project and click here to participate. I clicked on an article that they had linked from the website that we were just on. Okay, it says help to raise the first authentic and kosher perfect red heifer in 2,000 years in the land of Israel. Okay, in 24 days, they have raised $30,768. It says help the Temple Institute produce a kosher red heifer in the land of Israel, be part of restoring the state of purity that will enable the rebuilding of the Holy Temple. After millennia of yearning, only one organization is paving the way for the rebuilding of the Holy Temple, the Temple Institute, located in the old city of Jerusalem. And we know what they are because we just read that. It says the Holy Temple stands for the sanctity and dignity of human life and universal peace, and will be the center of an inspiring pilgrimage for all people. The red heifer is a female cow, 3 years of age, with perfect consistency of a particular reddish hue, having not even 2 hairs of any other color. The heifer also may never be used for any type of labor and must be totally blemish-free. The ordinance of the para aduma, the red heifer, is found in the Torah in the book of Numbers chapter 19 and elucidated in the teachings of the sages of Israel. The process of purification through the red heifer is the only antidote to the state of impurity caused by death, and thus intrinsically imperative for the reestablishment of purity. Now, if the tribulation is going to start this year or next year, let's say, that means they got to come up with this red heifer pretty soon, and it looks like they're reaching their goals. It says, what's the difference between an ordinary red cow and a proper red heifer? Now remember, it will be sacrificed at 3 years of age, a female perfect red heifer. So let's look at the length of the tribulation. We know the tribulation is for 7 years. We break it down into periods of first half of the tribulation, 3.5 years, second half, another 3.5 years. They need to birth this red heifer soon if the tribulation is going to start soon, because it's going to have to be 3 years old. Okay? Now it says the project has begun. In the past, the people of Israel waited for the birth of a potential red heifer, but with Torah knowledge and advanced science, the Temple Institute has now begun to actively pursue this commandment. For the unprecedented project, the Temple Institute has joined forces with experienced cattle ranchers here in Israel. These experts in the science of animal husbandry, under the halachic supervision and guidance of the rabbis of the Temple Institute, will utilize the technique of implanting the frozen embryos of red Angus cattle in Israel domestic cattle. Okay, they're going to utilize this technique of implanting frozen embryos. The end result of this program will be the introduction of the Red Angus breed into Israel. This method, authorized and approved by Israel's Ministry of Agriculture, has already proven successful with the birth of a number of male Red Angus. The location and other details of the cattle ranch will remain undisclosed to the general public during the initial stages of the project. They've got everything pretty much so just about ready for this. And as I told you earlier in this video, there really isn't much time left. Even some of the most uneducated people in prophecy know that there is significance to do with the end times and the rebuilding of the temple and the red heifer. We know that the Messiah that the Orthodox Jews are looking for, okay, they don't believe that Jesus Christ was the true Messiah. Those who are Christian believe that Jesus is the true Messiah. So they're looking for their Messiah still, having not believed that Jesus was him. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the Messiah that they're looking for is the person who is known to us, the Christians, as the Antichrist. He will desecrate the temple according to the Bible. He will be the abomination of desolation. He is the man, the son of perdition, the man who will be the living embodiment of Satan himself. But they're going to believe that he is the Messiah, but they're going to find out later that he is not. And he's going to turn on the Jewish people. And then it will be too late, and the Jewish people will realize that they have been fooled by Satan himself. So this is it in a nutshell. We are that close. They're in the process of birthing scientifically this red heifer, which may not take very long. I don't know how long it takes to genetically create something like that. They've already been in the process. It's already in the works. I wanted to break all this down for you and show you something that is extremely factual, that you can see for yourself, regardless of everything else that you're seeing going on out there, regardless of even all of my videos on this channel. This is hardcore evidence you see right here that I have brought to you today and shown you that Jesus Christ is not messing around much longer. He is coming back very soon, and all of us must be prepared.